Hello and welcome along to another YouTube sketchbook flick through. This one is the first one in a while that I've actually filled from cover to cover. If you are on my mailing list and you read my last newsletter, I gave out some sort of sketchbook tips and tips to get started, because I know sometimes they can be quite difficult for people to work in or get started working in. And this year I've been trying to do some daily practice in my sketchbook, and I say daily practice, but I don't always get to work in it every day, but I do try and do even just 5 minutes sometimes on quite a regular basis, much more than I was managing in the past. And it's really lovely because it's a real injection of creativity every day, and just 5 or 10 minutes to yourself to really explore marks and media. So time for a flick through. Oh, so here I am again, back with my very technical setup on the ironing board. You can see that I can't not just keep an ironing board for good stuff. I end up using bond web and all sorts of things, but hey ho, there you go. So this little sketchbook I bought in London probably about a year ago, and I did that thing where you think it's really nice and you get really precious about it, and then it takes ages to actually get started in it. It was only a few quid because you can see it's small. It's A7, I think. Oh yeah, it's A7, this one. And I have been doing some daily practice, and this one I kind of decided this would be landscape daily practice. This would be landscape abstracts, mark making, really quick sketches. I can't tell you how quick some of these are, but it's been really good, and I've sort of filled this one up in February, so I'm just gonna have a little flick through now. Some pages were worked from photographs. This one was worked from a photograph. Some were worked on location, so I would sit and I would draw for even sometimes just 10 seconds at a time, and some are completely made up. I would close my eyes and scribble, and then I would sort of create a landscape from the scribbles that I'd made. And you can see with some of these as well, I just collage in little scraps that I've got lying around the studio. So sometimes at the end of a day, if I'm not going to do anything in the sketchbook, I would just tear up some of the scraps I've got on my table and stick them in so that they're ready for when I do a drawing in here. So yeah, here we go. And I've got my little date stamp as well, and that's really nice because it sort of helps you jog your memory about where you were or what you were doing on that day. So you'll probably see that I haven't done a drawing every day. Sometimes I've done 4 or 5 in a day, and then there's a bit of a gap where other work and family things have taken over, and then I come back to it. But yeah, it's all been sort of done in February really, so I should have a little flick through. So that one was done on location in pencil. That was 10 seconds, and then I came back and added about 10 seconds of colour into it. One missed out there. That was a 10-second on location as well. So you can see sometimes when you draw really quickly, you get a lovely spontaneity in the marks. This is one photograph. That's from a photograph. That took a bit longer. Zooming in on areas of a photograph. We went up to do some stargazing at Hadrian's Wall, and this was one of the photographs we took of the moon through the telescope. So it's just playing with some really blackened charcoal from that, which is great, but gets everywhere. Super simple, some of them, but some of them are nice just to leave as simple drawings. And I always had a small kit with me, so some watercolour pencils, a few oil pastels, a graphite stick. Really limited it. This is when I was just playing with some marker pens. They do go through the page. You can see there, they kind of come through the page. That one, not successful, but sketchbooks don't always have to be about, loving every page. They're there to sort of play in. This is a totally made up page. It's quite fun. Another made up landscape. Just went from a photograph. It's more coastal, but the more wet media I used in this book, the more fragile the paper became. So that was interesting. As you were painting it and bits of the paper were kind of rubbing away. I've just noticed that there looks like a little lonely figure looking at the ground. But I quite like the way things run, and bleed and blend, the unexpectedness of it. So I'm working from more coastal photographs. Really wintry scenes. This is Simonside. So it's when you're sort of up top, on your way up, overlooking sort of the valley. You've got Rothbury down here in the valley, and this is a big tree line, so it's really scratching into the paint to try and show that all like sort of the busyness of the trees. Same thing again, but super duper quick and graphite stick. Oops. Again, very quick, very scrubby. That's when we're set up on a picnic on the way to the top. So these are all worked from photographs, side and side. And again, limited materials, limited palette. This is, we didn't get all the way to the top because the teenager was grumbling about why people even bother walking in the countryside. So we got to the sort of this middle bit and then had a picnic and started walking around. For anyone who is familiar with side and side, it's just ink and water. Again, about 10 seconds. I think this one's a made up landscape, but it's got some collage papers in. It's quite good fun to do. And a bit of perspective with a little fence. Made up again. More oil pastel-y, much, much thicker. You can see there if I do that. Still comes up on my fingers. Another made up one. A little bit of perspective with the fence. This is working from a little picture of a babbling brook, but it didn't sort of work as well because you need a bit more depth in it to kind of get the idea of stones and water and whatnot. This one was completely made up and totally simplified, and I actually really like this one. I don't know where the sketchbook's going to go, but if I was going to do anything out of it, part of me thinks this here would translate quite well into Stitch as a really simplified and abstract landscape. So I hope you've enjoyed that. It's just a really, really quick flick through. As I say, daily practice. You can see from the date stamps, you know, some are done a couple of days and sometimes I don't get into the book for a week, and some are really, really quick. So they're quicker than you think. It might look like there's a lot of detail in there, but they are super quick. Sometimes it just takes a minute or two, and it's just giving yourself that time to do a little bit of daily practice and have a little bit of time playing in a sketchbook. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up and like, or you can even leave a comment. If you tag me at Jessica Kennedy Textiles on Instagram, I'd love to see what you do in your sketchbooks as well. Bye.